Do you think the fact that the petrol prices are being cut as well says that people are just sitting on their hands and not buying at the moment? They want to see if the world collapses first. With everything that's going on around us right now, people are going, I'm not going to buy that new car yet. I'm not going to sign on the dotted line. I'll just wait and see what happens with Iran or Russia or China. Good evening. I've got two serious videos for you. If the camera's moving, it's because it's incredibly windy at this little spot on the Malvern Hills that I've chosen to film. But the Telegraph is saying that electric cars are now being sold at record discounts as demand plunges. Now, that's not what the mainstream media seem to be saying. I thought electric cars were all the rage and everybody loved them and everybody was buying them. Perhaps not. Let's have a look at the article. 8 in 10 new EVs suffer price cuts amid wider car industry turmoil, Auto Trader warns. 8 in 10? Hang on a minute. Where's the other 2? Let's be honest, you can walk into a dealership right now and buy any EV you want and pretty much just name your price. They are that desperate to shift them. 8 in 10. Who are the suckers that are buying 2 at full price? Almost 8 in 10 new electric vehicles are being sold at a discount as the industry reels from falling consumer demand. Some 77% of new electric vehicles listed on Auto Trader were advertised at a discount last month, up from 55% a year earlier. Data from the company shows 77% of brand new EVs are already heavily discounted according to Auto Trader. And Auto Trader manipulate the numbers as well. So if you follow Barry Crampton on Twitter, which you absolutely should do, Barry's exposing a lot of the stuff that is going on at Auto Trader, and I keep meaning he's getting around to making a video with Barry because he's really got a bee in his bonnet about all this. So you need to go and follow Barry because his tweets are fantastic. The degree of discounting is also on the rise, with the average reduction now standing at a record 11%. It came as Tesla announced a string of price cuts in China, the US and Europe following a slowdown in sales. In China, Elon Musk's company lowered prices across its range, with the Model Y discounted to 249,900 yuan from 263,900 yuan. I thought it was yen. The cheapest version of the Model Y in the USA was cut to $42,990 or 35 grand. And in Germany, its Model 3 rear-wheel drive was cut by 2,000 euros to 40,990 euros. So basically, discounts across the board if you're looking to buy a Tesla. Auto Trader said a similar proportion of petrol cars were discounted in a sign of wider turmoil in the car industry, but the EV prices were being cut more sharply. Do you think the fact that the petrol prices are being cut as well says that people are just sitting on their hands and not buying at the moment? They want to see if the world collapses first. With everything that's going on around us right now, people are going, I'm not going to buy that new car yet. I'm not going to sign on the dotted line. I'll just wait and see what happens with Iran or Russia or China. Darling, are you going to buy that new car? Don't know, I've got to see if World War III happens first. If it doesn't happen by next week, I'll get the order in. About 31% of EVs are taking price cuts of at least a tenth, compared to 24% of petrol cars. So 30% of EVs are being discounted, whereas only 25% of petrol cars are being discounted. And I'm willing to bet the discounts are much smaller on the petrol cars. It suggests dealers are being forced to slash prices to stimulate a significant number of sales amid a slowdown in demand for electric vehicles globally. Sales of battery-powered cars dropped by 11.3% across Europe in March, according to industry figures. But the evangelist will still tell you that the electric motion of electric vehicle sales is on an upward trajectory. It's absolutely not. It's plateaued. Everyone that wanted an electric car has got one. And a lot of people that didn't want an electric car that were forced to get one are now trying to get back into petrols. It's over. The electric thing is over. Experts said the price cuts were positive for consumers, with high costs still regarded as the biggest barrier to more widespread adoption of EVs. To just translate that, they're saying that the EVs are too expensive. But even with significant discounts, they still can't get people to buy these EVs. Some of the discounts that I'm seeing on EVs are insane. Here's a really good example of one of Barry's tweets, actually, whilst I'm editing this video. So in this image, he's showing a Nissan Leaf. And if you open up the image of the Leaf, it shows that actually there's been 13 price changes to this car and it still hasn't sold. So it's listed now at £11,599. But it's been reduced by £5,899 in 2 months. And as Barry says,
because EVs are flying off the forecourt and their valuations are stabilising. Just F off. Yeah, you need to go follow Barry on Twitter because he is just brilliant.
But they also underlined the challenges that manufacturers face as they seek to meet new UK sales targets that come into force this year. Under the so-called zero emissions vehicle mandate imposed by the government, 22% of vehicles sold by major car makers must be electric in 2024, a proportion that will continue to rise until a complete ban on new petrol and diesel vehicles in 2035. So long as we don't have, Iran, Russia, China, World War III, that 2035 date will be moved back. The car manufacturers will push back on that 2035 date. They can't afford not to because the people don't want the cars. Those who fail to hit the target, the zero emissions mandate, must pay fines or trade carbon credits. Carbon credits. The biggest scam. Why do all the big scams begin with C? Carbon, corona, currency. Ian Plummer, commercial director of Auto Trader, predicted that discounting would only grow heavier as car makers scrambled to hit these requirements. Again, translating that, you're going to be able to buy these premium EVs for absolute pennies because they can't shift them and they've got to shift them. He said sales of electric vehicles are rising. No, they're not. But as growth is still being driven from the fleet side of the market, more needs to be done to stimulate electric vehicle demand among private buyers, where affordability remains the number one barrier. That said, manufacturers and retailers are fighting harder than ever to tempt customers, and that trend only looks set to accelerate as manufacturers struggle to meet zero emissions vehicle mandate targets in a much more competitive landscape. What he's saying there is electric cars are too expensive. People don't want them, and he's basically asking for the government to do more to help force people into these products that they don't want. If electric vehicles were any good, I appreciate the light's a bit weird here actually, and I've got this little shiny bit on my chin. If electric vehicles were any good, they would be able to compete in a free market, which is to say they could stand on their own 2 feet against petrol and diesel cars, because people would go, oh, those electric cars, they look fantastic. I'll have one of those over and above a petrol or a diesel. But the fact of the matter is the electric cars, they're just quite simply not good enough. So the government has to step in and say, look, here's all these incentives. If you're a fleet buyer, you can have this. And if you're a private buyer, we'll give you a back rub. And people are still saying, I still don't want one. I just like a petrol or a diesel like I've always had. The arrival of cheaper Chinese models in the UK may shake up the market and bring down prices for consumers, said Mr. Plummer. So he's saying it's price-based and people are going to buy the Chinese imported crap from brands that they've never heard of instead. Come on, people, I have faith in you not to do that. On Friday, around 41,000 electric cars were listed for sale on Auto Trader's website. This year, the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, the SMMT, called for tax cuts on EV sales in an urgent attempt to boost take-up, while a House of Lords report also urged ministers to reintroduce targeted grants for consumers. Why? Why can't we just let them fail? We tried it, it didn't really work, no one really wanted them, they weren't actually any better for the planet, so let's just let them die. Let them die! Andrew Bergbaum, a global automotive expert at Alex Partners, said the winding back of incentives had led to a significant reduction in affordability. Listen to that. The winding back of incentives had led to a significant reduction in affordability. Well, I wonder why that was. The government was literally giving you money off a car when you bought it. When the government no longer gives you that money, the price goes up. It really is that simple. The electric vehicle grant was ludicrous. Why should taxpayers be helping finance people get cars that don't work, that they're only going to replace after 3 years anyway? All the UK taxpayers should have been up in arms about that, but there wasn't enough publicity. Not enough people were told, actually, this percentage of taxes is going to help people buy Teslas. If people had been told that, then they would have been up in arms. There wasn't enough information about it. This created overcapacity, with manufacturers forced to slash prices to sell down their inventories, he added. So basically, the government introduced a load of legislation to hyper-motivate people to buy electric cars. That forced the manufacturers to go out and make more electric cars. And when the government removed the incentives, the manufacturers are wondering why they stood there holding the baby. So they've got all these cars that they need to sell. They haven't got the private buyers to buy them. And now the government is penalising them for not selling them. Yes, that is the automotive world in 2024. And that's part of the reason why I lost my mind and left Worcester and went and found some sunshine. Because everything just seems to be going a little bit crazy around, well, everything, especially this shiny bit of hair that I've got there. That's a bit odd, isn't it? Anyway, I might change angle for the next video because the next one's good. The next one is about Wales dropping the blanket 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. So that's a little bit of positivity for the automotive world. Thank you for watching.